The story begins with a boy desperately asking why he is being dumped, only for his girlfriend to ruthlessly confess that she has been cheating on him. Not just with one guy, but with three. Sunao Akiyoshi wakes up covered in cold sweat, realizing it was just a nightmare. He heads to the washroom to splash water on his face, muttering to himself in the mirror. He scolds himself for dreaming about his ex-girlfriend, Lemon Nishikawa. After all this time, she was his childhood best friend and his first love, so her brutal betrayal traumatized him deeply. He feels he has completely given up on love. After getting ready, the young man heads to a convenience store. As he walks out, a girl greets him cheerfully. It is Natsumi Kogahara, a student 1 year ahead of him. He panics slightly, but returns the greeting. She notes that he is up early and asks if he has first period, which he confirms. The senior brings up their film club activities, mentioning a movie they are scheduled to watch tomorrow. He blushes, thinking her smile is too cute. She then invites him to go drinking with the club tonight, explaining that Prez, another member, was dumped yesterday due to cheating, and they want to cheer him up. Hearing this hits close to home for Sunao, eating away at him. However, he agrees to go since he has no other plans. Feeling a sense of solidarity with the persistent, Sunao decides to ask for her take on cheating. She jolts and reacts strongly, declaring that it is the worst thing imaginable and that she hates it. He is visibly relieved, agreeing that it is the only correct answer. She laughs, saying he scared her for a second, as she thought he might be into that sort of thing. She then declares that their job today is to help the member move on so he can find a happy ending with someone new. Checking the time on her phone, Natsumi realizes she is late for her first period. As she rushes off, she turns back with a smile to say she is looking forward to next weekend. He shouts, "Me too!" a bit too enthusiastically. As he watches her leave, he reflects on her advice about finding a happy ending. He resolves to forget about Lemon, the four-timing witch, and focus on his future with his crush. He opens his calendar app, which displays an event for June 11th. Movie with Kogahara. He blushes, thinking that this date will mark the start of his own happy ending. Suddenly, he realizes the time and panics, rushing to class. Later that day, Sunao rushes toward the 6th floor, annoyed that his last class ran late. He knows the club president hates tardiness. He presses the elevator button and hurriedly steps inside. Just as the doors are closing, someone calls out, asking him to hold it. He holds the door open without looking. A girl steps in, thanking him profusely. However, when he looks up, he freezes in horror. She freezes as well. It is the witch herself. Lemon looks at him and asks if it is really Sunao. He is drenched in sweat, unable to speak. He realizes this is the first time they have spoken since the breakup 3 years ago. The air is thick with awkwardness, and he desperately wonders how long it will take to reach the 6th floor. Ignoring the tension, she freaks out in a surprisingly bubbly manner, commenting that it has been forever since their junior high graduation. She tells him she missed him and remarks on how tall he has grown, leaving him confused by her hyper energy. Sunao stares at the girl, completely baffled. He cannot understand why she is acting like their reunion is no big deal. She casually remarks that she didn't know she would run into him today, otherwise, she would have spent more time on her makeup. He is shocked by her audacity. Did she actually forget that she cheated on him with 3 different guys? That isn't something people usually forget. He asks her what she is doing here, but she ignores the question entirely. As the elevator reaches the 4th floor, she steps out, cheerfully saying she hopes they bump into each other again. Sunao wants to stop her to ask what she means, but the doors close before he can react. Later, at the film club's drinking party, Sunao realizes there won't be a next time if he can help it. He sits in the corner, radiating gloom. The club president, known as Prez, holding a full glass, scolds him for being late and bringing down the mood. Sunao apologizes, huddled in misery. Prez demands he drink, even if it is just soda since he is 18, to help cheer everyone up. Sunao tries to comply, but his mind is racing. He feels pathetic that a single encounter with Lemon has completely dominated his thoughts. Meanwhile, Prez rants drunkenly about his ex-girlfriend cheating on him. The conversation shifts as other members share their own horror stories about exes. Then, Natsumi speaks up. She advises Prez to stay away from partners like that, adding that she personally would never date someone with unresolved baggage from a past relationship. Sunao freezes, feeling like her words are directed straight at him. The others agree that men who can't let go of their exes are annoying, and Natsumi tells him to trust her. If he meets someone like that, he should just walk away. After the party, Sunao walks home, exhausted and anxious. He curses his luck for running into his ex. He can't help but think that Lemon seemed different. She used to be more introverted, but today she was hyper. He slaps his cheeks, realizing he is obsessing over her again. He knows that if he has baggage, he is doomed with Natsumi. He imagines Natsumi rejecting him for not being over his ex. Determined, he decides to forget about Lemon immediately. He looks up and spots a shooting star streaking across the sky. The city lights are too bright, and he is too distracted to make a wish. However, unbeknownst to him, Lemon is watching the same star from a window nearby and makes a wish of her own. Sunao decides he doesn't need to wish on a star. He will move on by his own strength. He shouts a final goodbye to the witch into the night air, convinced he will never see her again. The next morning, Sunao's alarm buzzes at 7 a.m. His hand twitches, and he groggily shuts it off, complaining about the volume. As he speaks, he freezes. His voice sounds strangely high and feminine. Confused, he looks around the room. He turns to the mirror and screams. Staring back at him is not his own face, but the face of Lemon. He panics, pinching his cheeks and squeezing his eyes shut, telling himself to calm down and wake up. But the pain is real. This is not a dream. He wonders why this is happening to him. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. Terrified that his scream woke the neighbors, he checks the intercom screen. His heart stops. Standing outside his door is his own physical body. The person inside waves at the camera and casually asks, "Hey, I'm not really sure what happened, but can you let me in?" Sunao panics, realizing that his own physical body is standing right in front of him. He lets his other self in, and they cut straight to the point. They confirm that when they woke up this morning, they had switched bodies. Lemon calmly agrees. He points to himself, shouting in confusion about what the hell is going on. He clenches his fists, thinking that out of all the people in the world, the kicker is that he had to swap with Lemon. She remarks that they seem stuck for now since they don't know the cause or the cure. He internally cringes, hating that her casual manner of speaking is coming out of his own mouth. She proposes an idea. They should pretend to be each other for the time being. He freaks out, but she explains she has a report due for second period that she cannot miss. She shows him the paper and asks him to turn it in for her. He immediately refuses, insisting he cannot pretend to be her. She pleads, saying she cannot afford to skip class, and she is sure he can't either. Realizing he also can't miss his own classes, he hesitates. She takes his silence as agreement and declares it settled. She assures Sunao she will be fine and will act as his spitting image. He takes a deep breath and warns her not to let anyone realize the swap. He stops mid-sentence, terrified that if Kogahara finds out, his chances with her will be ruined. He shouts again for her to keep it a secret. She gives him a thumbs up, saying that given their long history, pretending to be each other will be a piece of cake. As she leaves for his class, Sunao looks at the assignment and bitterly thinks about who exactly ruined that long history. Before she leaves, he remembers to ask which school she attends. She smiles and answers, Tuto University. He is horrified, realizing he has to pretend to be a student at one of the best schools in the country. Later, Sunao arrives at the university. He comforts himself by thinking that the campus is huge and crowded, so as long as he keeps to himself, he won't run into the witch's friends. However, as he stands in front of a campus map, a girl approaches him from behind, greeting Lemon. He freezes, remembering that he is currently the one being addressed. The student asks why he is spacing out. Panicked that her friends found him so fast, he makes a clumsy excuse about needing to use the bathroom and runs away to escape their suspicion. He stops in a hallway, panting heavily and lamenting his bad luck. Unfortunately, it gets worse. Everywhere he goes, people try to talk to him. He realizes with annoyance that everyone seems to genuinely like the witch, and perhaps even look up to her. Eventually, he makes it to class. As the teacher lectures, Sunao sits there completely lost, planning to bolt the moment class ends. The teacher reminds the students to use the outline passed out last week for a quiz on today's material. Sunao frantically searches Lemon's bag, but can't find it, cursing her for not mentioning this. Just then, his male seatmate asks if he forgot his outline and offers his own. Sunao gratefully accepts, thinking the guy is remarkably kind. However, when he looks at the paper, he sees a phone number written on it. He turns to look at the guy and gets pissed, realizing that Lemon is a guy magnet. He is disgusted that all these guys are fooled by her, wishing he could warn them that she is actually a cheater. After class, he refuses a lunch invitation, claiming he is tired. However, his real plan is to check on Lemon. He heads to his own university and hides behind a pillar, waiting for his own body to appear. Finally, he spots her, but before he can approach, he notices who she is talking to. It is the Martial Arts Club, a group notorious for their aggressive and pushy recruitment tactics. Su now watches in horror, realizing the rumors were true. The martial arts club really does try to recruit new students using intimidation and muscle. They praise the boy's biceps, ignoring his discomfort. Su now mentally urges Lemon to just say no, reminding her that she is in his body. However, he quickly realizes that she must be terrified. Even he would freak out if trapped by a group of buff dudes. And Lemon is internally a girl being treated like a man. For her, this situation must be a nightmare. Frustrated but worried, he thinks, "Geez, lady, you are a real pain in the neck." Meanwhile, Lemon is panicked and confused. She realizes she missed her chance to escape. The recruiters insist she will fit right in, and when one of them puts a heavy hand on her shoulder, she flinches, mentally begging them to go away. Just then, Sunao bursts into the circle. He grabs her hand and loudly apologizes for being late, claiming class ran over. The recruiters are confused, asking the girl to let him sign his name first. Sunao turns on them with a menacing glare. He shouts at them, asking why they are still trying to talk to his boyfriend and telling them to get lost. His intensity is so terrifying that the three martial artists shiver and retreat immediately. Later, having moved to a safer spot, Sunao scolds Lemon for not being more careful. He complains that weirdos are always trying to haul her away while she is in his body. She apologizes meekly. He sighs, admitting that he knew she was scared because he recognized her tell. He points out that she has grabbed her sleeves when frightened since they were kids. She whispers softly, "This is why." He asks if she said something, but she smiles and claims it was nothing. Getting back to business, he suggests that since they don't know how to switch back, they should skip afternoon classes. However, a terrifying thought strikes him. He remembers that she had 4 boyfriends in junior high. If she is drowning in guys now, he will have to pretend to be her and handle all of them. He immediately decides to pass on that nightmare. He asks her directly how many boyfriends she has right now. She looks confused and answers, "None." He is skeptical, reminding her that she cheated on him with 3 guys back then, so he assumed she would have plenty. She falls silent for a moment before replying that she is just taking a break right now. He accepts this, but internally kicks himself for dragging up the past and looking obsessed. They decide to head home to rest. He suggests they just swap apartments since they both live alone. She suddenly freezes and admits she forgot to mention something. She is currently rooming with a friend. He shouts in disbelief, asking why she didn't lead with that information. She vaguely says she forgot and starts to back away. She tells him she will text the details later and sprints off before revealing who the roommate is. Sunao yells for her to come back, but is interrupted by a familiar voice calling out, "Lemon?" He freezes. It is Natsumi. The senior walks up to him, thinking he is Lemon, and asks if he is on his way home. His mind races. Why is his crush talking to his ex so casually? The realization hits him like a truck. The roommate is Natsumi. Oblivious to his internal scream, she chatters on about a sale on ground beef at the grocery store, mentioning she plans to make Salisbury steak for dinner tonight. Meanwhile, the real Lemon watches from behind the bushes. She crosses her fingers, hoping he can handle the situation. As she walks away, her thoughts turn dark. She can't believe she swapped bodies with him, but more importantly, she is shaken by his earlier question. He still hasn't forgotten about the cheating from 3 years ago. She asks herself why she had to lie back then. She admits to herself that even if it was in the heat of the moment, the truth is that she never cheated on him. But now, with truth and lies, and souls all switched, she has to live with the consequences. Meanwhile, walking home with Kogahara, Sunao is freaking out over the 2 crazy things that happened today. First, switching bodies with his ex, and second, discovering that his crush is the roommate. The realization hits him like a truck. He is about to spend the night with her. He blushes so intensely that the senior notices and asks if Lemon is okay. He shouts that he is fine, but internally admits he has no idea how to act around her while trapped in this body. She becomes suspicious, asking why he is calling her by her last name. She narrows her eyes, guessing that he is trying to hide something, specifically eating her pudding in the fridge. He sighs in relief, realizing he can bluff his way through this. However, he panics, wondering what his ex actually calls her. She playfully orders him to call her by her first name this instant, just like always. He forces himself to say it out loud, blushing furiously as he thinks she is killing him. They arrive at the apartment. Natsumin announces home sweet home, but Sunao is too busy staring at the interior. He sees the lived-in space shared by Lemon and his crush and feels flustered all over again. Natsumin wraps up her hair and says she will start making dinner. He excuses himself to the bedroom, claiming he has homework to finish. Once safe inside the room, Sunao whips out his phone and furiously texts Lemon, demanding to know what is going on. She replies calmly, explaining that she met Natsumi at a part-time job in high school. Since their universities are close, they decided to room together. She adds that the roommate is a year ahead of him at the same university and is the sweetest ever. Facts he already knows. She assures him everything will be fine and even sends a cheerful good luck sticker. He is skeptical. Nothing about this situation is fine. She then asks if she got any homework today, and if so, can he do it for her? He marvels at her shamelessness, but agrees. However, when he looks at the advanced university coursework, he freaks out. His ex is incredibly smart, and he has no idea what he is looking at. Annoyed and struggling with the homework, Sunao is interrupted by Natsumi calling him for dinner. He stands up, dreading the meal. He has to pretend to be Lemon in front of someone who has known her for years. There is no way he won't get caught. He worries about whether the real Lemon is doing a good job pretending to be him. However, when he walks out and sees the delicious Salisbury steak, all his worries vanish. His stomach rumbles and he takes his seat. He takes a bite and is floored by the flavor bursting in his mouth. He had no idea the senior was such an amazing cook. She stares at Lemon, waiting for a reaction. He praises the meal enthusiastically, saying the steak is rare and super yummy. She beams with a bright smile, revealing she snuck some miso into the sauce. He blushes, thinking she looks adorable, and honestly declares it is the best Salisbury steak he has ever had. She is touched, saying it means a lot coming from Lemon, who is apparently an even better cook. He panics internally. Since when did the witch know how to cook? This means at some point he will have to cook for Natsumi, and his skills are limited to microwaving spaghetti. He realizes it is not a matter of if she finds out, but when. Distracted by his panic while washing the dishes, he accidentally drops a plate, shattering it. Natsumi rushes over, asking if he is okay. He apologizes for the mess, but she pushes the shards aside, only caring if his hand is bleeding. Seeing her concern up close flusters him completely. She realizes it was part of a set, but forgives him quickly. However, she demands penance. On her next day off, they will go shopping together to buy new ones. He wants to cry at her kindness. He agrees excitedly, thinking it is amazing even though he knows she is technically inviting his ex. He realizes his heart feels like it is going to explode. He is definitely in love with Natsumi. This solidifies his resolve. He needs to get back into his own body ASAP so he can tell her how he feels as himself. Later that night, lying in bed, he reflects that they are no closer to a solution. He sends a text to Lemon. "Meet me tomorrow morning. Let's discuss changing back." She replies simply. Just then, a knock sounds on the door. Natsumi announces that she is done and the shower is free. Sunao gets flustered, noticing that his crush smells fresh and amazing right out of the shower. However, reality sets in. It is now his turn to wash the body he is currently inhabiting. He panics, deciding this is a terrible idea. He tells her he will pass on the shower today. She immediately shuts him down, asking if he is sick. When he claims he will do it later, she scolds him, reminding him that he specifically asked her to be a shower accountability partner to stop him from procrastinating. She orders him to get in right now. He reluctantly agrees, clenching his fists. Just then, he receives a frantic text from Lemon. "Don't you dare take a shower." Before he can type back, Lemon calls him. He answers, and she immediately starts screaming at him to stay away from the bathroom. She warns him that even if the roommate tries to drag him physically, he must resist. He whispers furiously, asking how he is supposed to fend her off without blowing his cover, blaming his ex for needing a shower babysitter in the first place. Natsumi yells from the hallway, reminding him to hurry up. He tells Lemon he has no choice. She sighs and tries to give him a strict list of routines to follow. He argues that he can't do a complex routine with his eyes closed. Overwhelmed, he hangs up on her. Both of them freak out, he because he has to do it, and she because she realizes she probably has to shower in his body too. Eventually, Sunao takes the shower, but keeps his eyes squeezed shut the entire time. He blindly dumped shampoo on his head and rinsed it off, exhausting himself with the mental effort. When he comes out, Natsumi mentions she is sleepy after staying up late listening to a friend rant about the club party. She waves goodnight and heads to bed. He waves back, his heart racing. The domestic atmosphere makes him feel like they are a couple living together. He climbs into bed, realizing that despite the stress, living with Kogahara is amazing. However, he is too nervous to sleep right away. The next morning, the alarm buzzes. He wakes up and realizes he is back in his own body. Later, the two meet up to confirm the switch back. Sunao sips a Coke, relieved that everything is normal. Lemon arrives and confirms she is back too. They wonder why it happened but decide not to question their luck. Sunao admits to himself that yesterday was hell, but getting a taste of life with Natsumi wasn't so bad. However, he decides to keep his mouth shut to avoid complicating things. He tells Lemon he has a club meeting and leaves. As he walks away, Lemon looks annoyed, thinking she missed her chance to tell him something important, but decides maybe it is better this way. Sunao goes through a perfectly normal day of classes and report writing. He goes to bed that night thinking the mystery is over and he can go back to having nothing to do with his ex. The next morning, they meet at a cafe, swapped again. Sunao is furious, demanding to know why this is happening. Lemon tucks her hair behind her ear, frustrated. She analyzes the pattern. They swapped 2 days ago, were normal yesterday, and are swapped again today. She theorizes that they might be switching back and forth on a schedule. He refuses to believe it, but realizes it is possible. They might be stuck like this forever. She suggests they stop panicking and start strategizing. They need to swap important information and set ground rules to keep their secret safe. He agrees. She suggests starting with the basics: school, friends, and apartments. She giggles nervously and brings up the topic of her roommate. She apologizes for not telling him sooner and asks how it went going from strangers to roommates with Natsumi. He explains that he actually knows the roommate from the film club. She is surprised, shouting that it is a small world. She takes a step closer, saying that at least the senior isn't a total stranger, which is nice. He argues that knowing her actually makes keeping the secret harder. She nods and starts explaining the apartment rules. They take turns doing chores, cook together on weekends, and handle bath schedules. When she mentions bath and shower stuff, he blushes furiously. She immediately shuts him down, shouting that there will be absolutely no bathing or showering while they are swapped, period. Sunao agrees quickly, saying it is awkward for him too. He asks her to put her arms down, relieved that he has one less thing to worry about. Lemon then suggests giving him a tour of the apartment so he can figure out where everything is. He hesitates, saying he feels creepy going through someone's stuff when they aren't there. She agrees, but insists it is necessary. She checks her phone and confirms that the roommate shouldn't be home right now. They head to the apartment. He asks if this is really a good idea. She assures him it is fine since Natsumi went to a friend's house. He remarks that he hopes so, feeling weird about sneaking into his crush's house. They enter and start the tour. She begins to show him the room, but suddenly, the front door creaks open. Both of them freeze. Natsumi walks in, calling out that she is home and asking if Lemon is there. The two swappers scramble to hide. He whisper shouts at his ex, demanding to know why she said the roommate was out. She panics as Natsumi mutters to herself about forgetting something. He realizes this is bad. If the senior sees a guy in her roommate's room, it's game over. He whispers that they have to hide. Meanwhile, Natsumi notices a pair of unfamiliar shoes by the door that don't belong to her or her roommate. She wonders if Lemon has a friend over. Suddenly, the bedroom door opens. Lemon steps out boldly in Sunao's body. The senior is shocked, asking what Akoshi is doing there. Lemon, being in his body, calmly replies that he is just visiting. Natsumi is confused, asking if they know each other. She smiles and says that they do. Natsumi marvels at the small world, asking how they met since they go to different schools. Before Sunao can panic from his hiding spot, Lemon declares, they are childhood friends. Natsumi gasps, saying she had no idea. Lemon agrees it is crazy that the three of them were friends without knowing it. Natsumi accepts the explanation, assuming they must be close if he is visiting. She then grabs her wallet, explaining she just stopped by to get it. She calls out to Lemon, who is actually Sunao hiding in the back, that she will be at her friend's house all day. Before leaving, she turns to the boy, actually Lemon, and brings up next weekend. She asks if it would be okay to meet a little later than planned, because she needs to stop by her campus in the morning. Caught off guard, Lemon agrees casually. Natsumi thanks him and leaves. As the door closes, Sunao feels his blood run cold. He was so focused on the body swap curse that he forgot something vital. Next weekend is his movie date with Natsumi. Lemon sighs in relief, thinking the senior didn't suspect anything. However, she notices him staring at the calendar with a look of pure despair. She asks him what is wrong. He does the math in his head. Today is June 1st. His date is June 11th. Assuming they keep switching bodies every other day, June 11th falls exactly on a swap day. She asks what Natsumi meant about next weekend, admitting she just agreed to whatever popped into her head. He collapses onto the floor, defeated, wailing internally about what is going to happen to his date. As suspected, Sunao is back in his own body. As he walks to class, he stares at his calendar, still recovering from the mental breakdown he had yesterday. He realizes that June 11th, the day of his movie date, is a swap day, meaning he won't be in his own body. However, he calms himself down with a simple solution: he will just reschedule. Perfect timing. He spots Natsumi ahead and calls out to her. He apologizes, claiming something urgent came up for next weekend, and asks if they can reschedule. She smiles kindly and says not to apologize. They can definitely pick another day. He sighs in relief, thanking her. He asks when she is free. She checks her calendar and suggests dates in mid-June, the 9th, 13th, or 15th. He freezes. All 3 of those dates are swap days. He stays silent, unable to answer. She notices his hesitation and assumes he is busy. She suggests pushing it to later in the month. However, she checks the movie listings and realizes Green Flash 2 is only in theaters until the end of the weekend. She concludes that since he is so busy, they probably just have to cancel. She shrugs and says that it's just the way things go, but he can clearly see the disappointment on her face. She admits she had been looking forward to their post-movie analysis. He panics. He can't tell whether she's upset about canceling their plans or simply missing the movie, but either way, he refuses to be the reason she's unhappy. Gathering his courage, he stops her and gets her attention. Later, Sunao meets up with Lemon and explains everything. She's shocked and asks if he's seriously suggesting that she go see a movie with Natsumi while pretending to be him. He bows deeply, begging for her help. She tells him to stop bowing. She doesn't really understand the panic, but she doesn't mind helping. He feels relieved, even though he knows it's incredibly risky. Still, he can't stand the thought of making his crush sad. She asks what movie it is. He shows her the poster for Green Flash 2. She points out that the 2 means it's a sequel and admits she hasn't seen the first one. He freaks out. The whole reason they made the date was because they bonded over the first movie. He tells her she needs to watch the first one or she won't follow the plot. She shrugs, saying it isn't on any streaming apps, and figures a sequel can't be that hard to follow. She adds casually that if she gets confused, she might fall asleep. He screams internally. If he falls asleep on their first date, the senior will think he is bored, and it will raise questions. He decides he has to cram as much information into Lemon's brain as possible before the date. He rents the first movie and shoves his phone in her face, declaring it is study time. She suggests watching it on a bigger screen at his place. He agrees, though he feels mildly depressed that the first girl to visit his apartment is his ex-girlfriend. At his place, Lemon makes herself comfortable, remarking that it feels like half her place anyway since she swaps bodies with him. She asks what the movie is about. Sunao launches into a passionate explanation. It is an action movie based on an American novel where the protagonist fights an evil organization to protect his climatologist girlfriend. He praises the character development and admits he identified with the protagonist big time. He raves about the cinematography holding up well despite its age. Our lad keeps blabbering until she tells him to stop. He thinks indignantly that she was the one who asked, noting that she is way ruder than she used to be. However, she admits she is starting to get excited since she hasn't been to a movie in ages. He is surprised she isn't a movie person. Lemon explains she usually just watches whatever Natsumi is watching at their apartment. He sits there, thinking that watching movies at home with the roommate sounds like the perfect date. He imagines how lucky that would be. Just then, the doorbell rings. He excuses himself, assuming it is a package, and leaves the room. Left alone, Lemon's face turns bright red. She realizes she is sitting in his apartment, watching a movie with him. It effectively feels like a home date, their first since the breakup. She hugs a throw pillow tightly, wondering how she is supposed to focus. Thinking about his passionate expression when talking about movies, she realizes he hasn't changed a bit. Despite all the time that has passed, she admits to herself that she still loves him. Sunao returns and notices her flushed face. He asks if she is okay. She panics and compliments the pillow to distract him. He bluntly replies it was the cheapest one he could find. He asks why she is blushing, but she defensively denies it and tells him to start the movie. As the film plays, Sunao feels weird sitting next to his ex like this. However, he notices that the awkwardness has vanished. Lemon is laser-focused on the screen. It reminds him of the past when they used to watch movies together on his couch all the time. He recalls a specific memory where Lemon agreed to watch another movie just to make him happy, even though she wasn't really interested. Back in the present, Sunao glances at her, worried he is forcing her to do this, but Lemon seems genuinely engrossed. When the movie ends, she beams and says it was great. Sunao smiles, noting her total 180-degree turn in attitude. Lemon admits she didn't think it would be this good. She adds softly, "Plus, I want to know about all the stuff you like since I am your girlfriend." Sunao blushes furiously. Lemon realizes what she just said, a habit from when they were dating. She quickly tries to cover it up, claiming she just meant that since he watches so many movies, his recommendations must be good. Sunao accepts the excuse, but mentally feels overwhelmed by embarrassment, wondering if there was a deeper meaning behind her words. He gets up to make coffee to break the tension, telling himself there is no way she still has feelings for him. Over coffee, Sunao gets back to business. He lectures Lemon on how to behave during the date. He emphasizes that she must be polite and, most importantly, call Natsumi by her last name, Kogahara, to maintain his persona. She sips her coffee and snaps at him to give her a break. She complains that he sounds like a broken record. Lemon reminds him that she has been best friends with the roommate for years and knows everything about her. She is an expert at not getting caught. He points out that her comfort level is exactly why she might slip up and get too cozy. He asks about their history. She explains they met working at a cafe in high school. She was in the kitchen, and the senior was a server. She used to cook staff meals for her. They became close enough to rent an apartment together when she got into her first-choice university. He is sad, realizing he has fallen for his ex-girlfriend's best friend. He mentally begs for someone to put him out of his misery. The prep session ends, and he reminds her one last time to follow his strict instructions. She tells him not to worry and leaves. Alone again, he collapses on the floor, anxiety eating him alive. He prays Natsumi won't find out. Meanwhile, Lemon walks home, feeling a mix of nerves and satisfaction. She feels like she actually managed to confess her feelings during the movie, even if he didn't catch it. She decides that as long as the roommate doesn't find out, she has nothing to complain about. Lemon arrives home. Natsumi greets her and remarks that she was gone for a while. Lemon is vague, simply saying she was visiting someone. Hiromi accepts this without prying. Lemon retreats to her room, realizing how close a call it was. It hits her that her roommate and Sunao are close enough to go on a movie date alone. They must really want to see that sequel. Back at his apartment, Sunao sits in front of his laptop with intense determination. Since he cannot go on the date himself, he decides to script the entire event. He begins typing out a plan to create the perfect date, determined to make sure his ex follows it. Finally, June 11th arrives, and as expected, their bodies have switched again. Sunao shouts in celebration that it is time for his date with Natsumi. Lemon casually remarks that the weather is great today. He feels a surge of irritation, knowing he isn't the one who will actually get to enjoy the date. She asks why he is even there. He thinks to himself that while it isn't her fault, his anxiety is eating him alive, so he plans to watch her like a hawk. He tells her he swung by to drop something off and hands her a thick stack of papers. She flips through the pages, seeing complex flowcharts and diagrams. She shouts, asking what the hell this is. He explains that he has the whole day planned out. Plan A is the default, but he also included Plan B just in case it rains. She bluntly calls his hard work absurd. The insult hurts him, and he protests that he spent 3 days preparing these plans. She argues that it is just a movie, not a military operation. He snaps that she promised, so she needs to follow the plan. She sighs and reluctantly agrees to do it. Relieved, he tells her that Natsumi will be there soon, and reminds her they are meeting at the north exit. She waves goodbye, assuring him she got this. However, the moment she walks away, she spots a trash can and immediately shoves the entire stack of papers inside. She apologizes internally to him, thinking she can't be bothered to follow his bajillion plans, especially since the stack won't even fit in his tiny bag. She understands he wants to show the senior a good time, but she decides she can handle that on her own. Meanwhile, Sunao enters full spy mode. He hides behind the bushes in a disguise, hoping Kogahara-san won't spot him. He watches his ex, thinking she looks like she is missing something, specifically his plan sheets. Finally, Natsumi arrives. He blushes from his hiding spot, thinking she looks incredibly cute. From the outside, they look exactly like a couple. He snaps a few photos, feeling the need to document it, then strains to listen and check whether they're sticking to the plan. By his schedule, it should be lunchtime. Step 1 was to suggest a cool, pre-selected restaurant. He worries because he doesn't see Lemon holding the plan sheets anywhere. Instead of suggesting a place, Lemon asks Natsumi what she wants to eat. He panics internally. That is not how she is supposed to do it. He wanted her to offer a cool and gentlemanly suggestion, not ask for input. Natsumi replies that she is in the mood for rice. He is surprised to learn she is a rice person. He realizes it is a good thing his ex didn't follow his suggestion for pasta, but he is still stressed that she is winging it. Lemon pulls out her phone and shows Kogahara-san a spot she saved on Instagram. Natsumi looks at the photos and agrees it looks really excellent. Lemon mentions that their Luro fan, braised pork rice, is supposed to be excellent. Natsumi worries that it might be too crowded to get a table. Lemon immediately calls the restaurant and confirms they have space for 2 in 15 minutes. Watching from the bushes, Sunao is stunned. He admits to himself that she is handling it like a pro and seems completely on top of everything. Lemon tells Natsumi that the restaurant is a bit far from the station and hopes that is okay. The senior smiles, saying it is perfect because the walk will make them hungrier. Watching from a distance, Sunao realizes they are totally off script, but admits it might be for the best. As they walk, Natsumi mentions that whenever she goes out with friends, it takes forever to pick a restaurant. She tells him she is glad they didn't have that problem today. Lemon agrees, noting that she usually takes charge in those situations, though her friends tease her for being pushy. The senior laughs, assuring him that when someone is as indecisive as she is, pushy is actually a good thing. Sunao, hiding behind a pole, thinks that they are really hitting it off. Natsumi then makes a keen observation. He reminds her of Lemon. She explains that his ex is also the type to take care of everything and make stuff happen, which makes hanging out with her stress-free. Lemon feels a spike of nervousness at the comparison. She quickly covers, saying it is cool, and guessing that when people grow up together, they start copying each other. Sunao exhales, thinking, crisis averted. Barely. He worries that she won't be able to handle this charade for much longer. After lunch, the couple heads to the theater to watch the movie. Sunao follows them in. However, being a movie buff, he stays in the theater until the very end to watch the post-credits scene. By the time he rushes out, the theater is empty. He panics, realizing he lost them. He finally spots them walking ahead. Natsumi is raving about the movie, saying she loved it. Sunao hides behind a wall, relieved that his ex got through the screening okay. The senior mentions she was on the edge of her seat when the sidekick from the first movie showed up. Lemon agrees enthusiastically, calling it her favorite scene. Sunao listens as she gives a detailed analysis of the climax, explaining how the hero's save led perfectly into the showdown and tied back to the revenge plot of the first film. He is impressed. She is smart, and her takes are actually better than his own. He feels a weight lift off his chest, thinking that with the movie over and the conversation flowing, it should be smooth sailing from here. Just then, his relief shatters. He notices Lemon staring intently at a women's clothing store window. Sunao freaks out. He mentally screams at her, reminding her that she is a dude right now and cannot be caught drooling over women's clothes in his body. The senior might start asking questions they can't answer. Sure enough, Natsumi notices him staring and asks what it is. Lemon jolts, realizing she momentarily forgot she was inside his body. Natsumi asks if he sees something he likes. Thinking fast, she improvises. She points to the clothes and says that those clothes would look nice on you. Natsumi is surprised. Lemon doubles down, asking if she doesn't think they are pretty. The senior admits they are cute. Seizing the chance to cover her tracks, she suggests, "How about you try them on, since we are already here?" They enter the store. Lemon sighs internally, thinking that was a great recovery. As Natsumi picks up the items, Lemon stops her and suggests pairing a specific skirt with a blouse. The senior looks at the combination and is amazed. They go really well together. Kogahara admits she didn't realize Sunao knew so much about fashion. Lemon almost reveals that she knows because Natsumi has stacks of fashion magazines at home, but stops herself. Instead, she smiles and says she just thought it would look cute on her. The senior blushes at the compliment. Lemon pushes her toward the changing rooms, telling her it is time to try them on. Inside the fitting room, Natsumi stands flustered, clutching the clothes to her chest as her face burns. The compliment caught her off guard. He never seemed like the type to say something like that. Realizing she's seeing a whole new side of him, she admits she's having fun. He's easy to talk to, and she loves spending time with him. Little does she know, she is falling for Lemon. Meanwhile, in the main area of the store, Sunao is in trouble. A shopkeeper has cornered him, holding up the same skirt his ex pointed out earlier. The clerk insists it would look great on him, noting it is part of their new summer lineup. She cheerfully encourages Lemon to try it on. He stands there, horrified, silently screaming for someone to help him. At the university, Sunao is finally back in his original body. He enters the classroom and greets his friends casually. They reply that not much is going on. He notices Natsumi nearby. She looks fidgety. He calls out to her from behind, and she turns around, her face flushing red. He smiles and thanks her for going to the movie with him, adding that he had a great time and would love to do it again sometime. She doesn't answer immediately. The silence stretches, becoming painful. He asks if something is wrong. She stammers a quick apology, mutters, "Same here, thanks," and then abruptly changes the subject. She claims the movie is starting soon, though they are in class, and says she needs to grab snacks, literally running away from him. Later, when she returns, he tries to approach her again, asking what she got. She ignores him completely. She turns her back to him and enthusiastically shows her snacks to her friend, raving about how yummy they are. He is left standing there, confused, while the rest of the class watches the awkward interaction. When class ends, a friend announces that the group is going to get dinner. Sunao turns to his crush, hopeful, and asks if she is coming. She immediately stands up, shouldering her bag. She tells the group she is going home today, compliments the movie again, and wishes them fun at dinner. She hesitates for a split second, murmurs, "See you later," and leaves. Sunao stands there, stunned. He wonders if she is avoiding him, but deep down, he already knows the answer. Later that evening, Sunao is eating ramen with his friend, Suzuka. Out of nowhere, Suzuka states the obvious. She's avoiding you. Sunao shouts in despair, asking why she would do that. His friend remarks that he didn't expect Kogahara to be this cold. He always thought Sunao was the closest to her among the freshmen in the film club. Sunao admits he thought so too, but guesses it was all in his head. Suzuka asks what happened to the date, or if the date was all in his head too. He insists they went on the date, more or less. The friend asks what more or less means. Sunao thinks to himself that he can't explain that he wasn't exactly in the driver's seat during the date. Suzuka declares the case closed. If she is acting distant after the date, he must have screwed up so badly that she hates him. Sunao denies this shakingly. He stands up confidently, arguing that they clicked and had a great time with no awkward silences. Suzuka counters that Kogahara was probably just being polite. He theorizes that Sunao, being himself, probably saw a restaurant trending on Instagram and decided it was the perfect place, making her stand in a long line just to show off. Sunao flinches. That was exactly what he had written on his Plan A sheet for his ex. He defends himself, saying he didn't take her there, though he admits he planned to. His friend tells him to just finish his ramen. He laments, wondering why Natsumi is avoiding him. Suzuka finishes his food and advises him to cut his losses. He says making mistakes is how people grow, and he should try his luck with someone else next time. Sunao asks how he can be expected to just move on. The friend replies coldly that nothing is more pointless than chasing love where it doesn't exist. It isn't rational, it's pure madness. Sunao complains that Suzuka is the only person he can talk to about his love life, but wishes he would be a little more gentle. Suzuka retorts that if he wants a shoulder to cry on, he should ask one of the chick flick experts in the club. Sunao explains that the fewer people who know, the better. Dating inside their school circle is dangerous, and secrecy is the only way to survive. Suzuka internally notes that this smells like trauma. Sunao emphasizes that he trusts him because he can keep a secret, begging him not to tell anyone in the film club. The friend assures him he won't, mostly because watching Sunao stubbornly chase after someone who hates him is too depressing to mention. Sunao clings to a shred of hope, thinking, we can't say for sure that she hates me yet. Later, on a body swap day, Natsumi greets Sunao with a cheerful good morning and offers him coffee. He accepts, thanking her, but his mind is racing. He notices she isn't acting weird around Lemon at all. If she really hates him, that explains her cold behavior yesterday, but it doesn't explain the smiles at the end of the date. He feels guilty, thinking that accepting her coffee feels like cheating, but decides it is time to do some digging. He asks her if anything weird happened lately at the university. She casually says, nope, nothing. He realizes there's no natural way to steer the conversation without blowing his cover, and gives up, thinking there's nothing he can ask. Suddenly she brings up Lemon and says she wants to talk about Sunao. He is so shocked that he spits his coffee all over himself. She asks if he's okay. He stammers that he's fine and tries to ask what she wanted to say. Noticing he doesn't look fine, she offers him a towel and continues, mentioning that she thinks Lemon and Sunao seem pretty close. Sunao tries to downplay it, insisting they are just childhood friends and that being a little close is normal. He asks why she's bringing it up, and Natsumi admits she was just curious if the two of them were dating. He freaks out again, flailing and spilling the rest of his coffee, insisting that they are not dating at all. She points out the mess and hands him the towel. As he frantically mops up the coffee, she asks if he is okay, noting he seems off today. He insists he is fine, just surprised by the question. She apologizes, but then smiles and says, "So, you aren't dating," before taking the towel to the laundry. He watches her go, realizing he can't read her face at all. She said she was going to get ready for class, leaving him alone to spiral. He tries to put the puzzle pieces together. The senior is distant towards him. His friend claims she hates him, but she is sweet to Lemon, and she blushed when she confirmed they weren't dating. He comes to a terrifying conclusion. Natsumi must have a crush on Lemon. If that is true, everything makes sense. He appeared out of nowhere, so the senior sees him as a threat to her romance with his ex. The movie date wasn't a date. She was sizing up her rival. He realizes he didn't hit it off with her. She was drawing battle lines. He puts his head in his hands, thinking this is a nuclear disaster. Meanwhile, Lemon is walking to university, feeling sleepy and annoyed that the body swap is messing up her routine. Suddenly, Suzuka calls out to her from behind. She turns around with a jolted expression. The friend comments on her face, asking if something is wrong with it. She struggles to remember his name before landing on Suzuka. He notes that Sunao seems chipper today and asks if he patched things up. She is confused and asks what he is talking about. He sighs, saying that even if Kogahara refused to look him in the eye yesterday, maybe she will get over it eventually. Lemon freezes. The roommate wouldn't look him in the eye? Did they fight? She realizes Sunao must have done something to make her mad. She immediately calls him. When he picks up, she shouts, asking if he fought with Natsumi. He denies it. She argues that the senior is avoiding him, so he must have done something. Sunao, who currently believes Natsumi sees him as a romantic rival, retorts that it is none of her business. She snaps back, demanding to know what the hell he did because her friend never gets mad. She orders him to apologize and make up. He asks why she is so upset about this. She blurts out that of course she would be upset, that she doesn't want her crush to, and then stops herself. A heavy silence follows. She quickly recovers, tells him to just apologize, and hangs up. She sighs in relief, thinking how close she came to admitting that she didn't want her crush to fight her best friend. Meanwhile, he is left holding the phone, stunned. Her words echo in his mind, and he completes the sentence on his own, realizing she doesn't want him to be mad. He realizes the situation is even worse than he thought. If Lemon likes Natsumi back and they both like each other, then he is just the guy getting in the way of their happiness. Later, Sunao sits in despair, constructing a new theory. Natsumi likes Lemon, and maybe Lemon likes Natsumi back. If that's true, he is doomed. His friend Suzuka approaches him, asking if he is even alive. He replies dramatically, describing himself as a disturber of the peace and a pest in the beautiful field of sapphic lilies. The friend calls him a weirdo and demands an explanation. When Sunao explains his theory, Suzuka bluntly calls it ridiculous. Sunao is offended, but the friend breaks it down. 1. Natsumi's roommate just happened to be your ex. 2. Natsumi is in love with your ex. 3. Your ex is also in love with Natsumi. He concludes that this is some serious brain rot. Sunao insists his logic is sound, even though he wishes it wasn't. Suzuka gives him a look that says, "They are probably just friends, dude." He starts crying, claiming he is just getting in the way. The friend points out a flaw in the theory. If the senior already has a crush, why did she go on a date with Sunao? He claims she was sizing him up. Suzuka argues that makes no sense since they made the plans before she knew about him and his ex. Sunao has no rebuttal. The friend advises him to step back, cool his head, and reassess. He reluctantly agrees. However, he then hands Suzuka a schedule, requesting that he only bring up Natsumi and his love life on every other day. The friend asks who on earth schedules conversations about their love life. Suno apologizes internally, knowing he can't explain the body swap reason. Later at home, he wonders if he is wrong about the girls. But if he is, why is the senior avoiding him? Scrolling through social media, he sees a status update from Lemon, a picture of her and Natsumi with the caption, "We went on a date." He jumps out of bed, devastated. He takes a screenshot as proof, convinced they are definitely in love with each other. He resolves to stay out of their way for everyone's sake. The next morning, it is a swap day. He walks into the kitchen and greets Natsumi, secretly wishing he knew how to stop the swapping. She invites him to help her bake bread. He feels guilty, thinking she just wants to spend time with her crush, unaware that he is tricking her. He sighs deeply. She notices the sigh and asks if everything is okay. He claims he is fine, just thinking. She notes he looks pale and tells him not to stress too much. Then, she playfully drags a piece of dough towards him and asks, "By the way, does it have anything to do with your love life?" She laughs, saying she was just pulling his leg. He freezes, thinking bullseye. He stammers that she isn't wrong, but isn't right either. She is intrigued by his reaction. She asks if his freak-out means the answer is yes. Does Lemon have a new crush? He panics. He wonders if the senior is about to make her move on his ex. He realizes that if he says yes, she might give up on Lemon to respect her friend's feelings. He debates lying to save himself, but ultimately decides he cannot break Natsumi's heart. He tells her it is a secret for now. She pouts, wanting to know more. He laughs nervously, deciding he will not put words in his ex's mouth either. He promises to tell her eventually. Natsumi agrees to be patient, but reminds him that she is older and available for advice anytime. He is confused by her supportive reaction. He wonders why she would want to give dating advice to her own crush. He starts to suspect that her crush might not be Lemon after all. She reminds him he has morning classes, and he leaves for university, thoroughly confused. Meanwhile, Natsumi sighs in disappointment. She thinks that if her roommate had admitted to a new crush, it would have been the perfect time to ask for advice about Sunao. She assumes Lemon has lots of dating experience, whereas she is too embarrassed to talk about herself. She worries about running away from the boy the other day, fearing he thinks she was rude. She dreads the club meeting tomorrow, unsure if she has the courage to talk to him. She opens her phone and sees an ad pop up claiming she avoided the guy she likes and that he hates her now. Freaking out, she takes it as a bad omen. The next day, Sunao is back in his real body. He walks into the club meeting, and Natsumi greets him enthusiastically. He is shocked but returns the greeting. She even says hi to Suzuka, making direct eye contact with him, and asks if he can make it to the summer retreat. He agrees, relieved that she seems back to her old self. Someone calls her away, and she waves goodbye, promising to talk later. He turns to his friend, beaming, and admits he was wrong about everything. The senior doesn't hate him after all. He realizes there was no reason to think she and his ex were in love. Suzuka scoffs, asking if he's just realizing that now, and warns him that the next time he comes crying with ridiculous problems, he will ignore him. As the friend walks away, Sunao grabs his shoulder to apologize, claiming he wasn't thinking straight. Suzuka refuses to listen and tells him to have fun with his so-called brain rot. Just then, his phone blows up with notifications. He sees a text from Lemon explaining that she might have signed up for a beauty pageant and asking for his help. He stares at the screen, baffled, unable to believe it. Meanwhile, Natsumi hides her face, blushing furiously. She wonders if her greeting was normal enough. Realizing she is so nervous, she doesn't even remember how she used to talk to him.
Here I am.